Alright. Just need a few pieces of reference. This one's always a good one. Try this IQ one. Oh, let's practice hair. Seriously, that's not. This music is epic. You button below. And this one. Alright, that should be good enough. Let's get started. Yeah, my hands are cold. It's gonna be weird. I don't think I've ever drawn big for chibi heads. I've always been quite small. Hi, An Nguyen. Hello from Vietnam. I love what you're doing. Thank you. I'm gonna try to draw this chibi head big. We'll see how it goes. Sorry, gonna be too small. I can see. eraser a little bit bigger. Hi, fella. Hey, Ave. What's up? See you, Pella. I'm staying at my mother-in-law's house, so it's a little bit more activity than usual. Okay. I think that's pretty accurate. I guess this will help me draw eyes really big. Yeah, Happy New Year's. What's up, Poe? Should I call you Poe or Poe-line? Which do you prefer? Something I was told when I was drawing like cartoon or manga eyes or something like that is to treat the eyes as like a mask. Just Poe? Okay. Thank you, Poe. You know those like flat masks that they use for like comic book heroes or something that go like this? Ninja Turtle masks, kinda, right? I was told to do this to make the eyes to figure out where they are. And I sort of do that now in my head to figure out where the eyes are. Oh, the Dragon Warrior. Is that... Why does it sound familiar? Is that the panda movie from DreamWorks? Poe is the name of the panda, right? And you're editing a video for TikTok? Nice. I wasn't really prepared today because I was editing a video for YouTube. I'm doing some more After Effects heavy stuff, and it was fun. I ran out of time. Yes, I'm Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, that's what it was. Kung Fu Panda. Alright, I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. bigger with the ears here. What's everybody doing this weekend? Anything fun planned? Aside from editing your TikToks? For the weekend, I tried to draw some fan art for a really old anime. And you're doing art commissions, Poe? Okay, well, I have to know the old anime. Can't leave me hanging like that. And you're doing art commissions, Poe. That's pretty impressive. I only have done 3 art commissions in my whole life. And I was not proud of any one of them. Pretty much just gave up after that and realized that I didn't want to do that really ever again. To each their own. Some people like art commissions. I might like it again in the future when I get more comfortable with my skill. I just gotta... It was not that pleasant of an experience. Too far over. Chin. Anyways. And you're not going to tell me what what really old anime you're doing fan art for? I just watched yesterday, and the past couple days, I was able to watch the first episode of Delicious in Dungeon, or first 2 episodes actually, and then the first episode of Solo Leveling. Both were great. Ooh. Excuse me while I get into my my goblin pose. It's cold. It keeps me warm. It do be like that when you're starting out. Me personally, my early commission work ain't my proudest, but eventually I get the groove of it. That's pretty cool. You found a little groove for yourself. Yeah, I never. There was one of them where I did them for like, I just wanted to try it for myself. I never would have normally like priced them like this, but I think I did them for like $15. And then I don't know, that probably subconsciously made me have like shame for my artwork or something. I don't know. Obviously, if it takes you a long time to do a portrait, it's not a great idea to be selling them for that little. And then one person didn't pay when I was done, so it just sort of soured the whole experience. Plus, I just didn't feel like I was doing my best work. And someone asked for a character that had white hair and white eyebrows, and that was the most challenging ass thing in the world. So I was not the best. Hey, Quacken, how are you doing? This is not the best. Still feels like we're a little far apart. I'm doing good. It's a little cold, but otherwise doing good. How about yourself? You do anything for the weekend? I have a lot of editing to do for a new video, which I'm excited. The editing's turning out pretty good. It's been a little bit of a challenge doing the video in a new location. But it's coming out all right. Can't wait to watch it. Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait till it's done. It's been fun editing it so far, though. I was trying to figure out. Well, I don't want to spoil it, so it's so simple too. It's not like some big thing, but I've got some cool things that I did in After Effects I was really happy about. All right. Let me see if this fixes it. So if it does... it freaking does. Damn. Why are chibi proportions so hard? It's slightly bigger. No spoilies, please. You're doing good, dog. Thank you. Chibi heads are difficult from when you draw them big. But I gotta get used to it, right? There's some really cool art where it's like really massive chibi heads. I say I should have drawn from one of them. If anybody's ever watched Mega Man, like there's a big one. So cute. And they did one of Lan, I think his name is Lan and Mega Man, or Netho. Excuse me, it's in the name of the file. Just can't see the whole head. That's why I wasn't gonna do this one, but maybe it'd be a good idea to do it. I'll do Mega Man. I'll keep him in here. Shoop. Decrease this a little bit more. Doing some spriting for now, painting tiny spaceships. Sounds really cool. You know, I've always wanted to play that game. What is it? It's like Terraria, but in space. I forget what it's called, but it always looked really fun. Go that way, it's gonna be that low. It meant to be like that. Oh, that's not exact. Hey, Mr. Fahrenheit. Starbound, yeah, that's what it is. Hi, Maxim. Sorry, I missed your hello. Hello, Maxim. And Mr. Fahrenheit. Finally get to catch a stream on a weekend. I'm glad you caught us. Yeah, Starbound. It always looked really fun, Quackin'. Sounds like your sprite stuff might fit in that world quite nicely. That feels a little bit better. Although it wants me to shave off the chin a little. Come on. There we go. Maybe that's too far. No, it's an entirely different kind of spriting. Do you have an example, like on your page or anything? I'd be interested to see what it looks like. What you're doing. I've always wanted to do, or at least try my hand at sprites. It looks like a lot of fun. Sprites as in pixel art. That's what I'm assuming. You can send you stuff over Instagram. 1 second. Okay, thank you. I'm assuming that's what he means by sprites, but maybe I'm wrong. That's partially why I wanted to see. Pixel art looks like a lot of fun, though. I love pixel art games. I just tried out Graveyard Keeper the other day. It's kind of like a Stardew Valley kind of game, but graveyards. But you do some farming in that as well. I tried Aspirate for a while. I wanted to make an indie pixel art game. And back in the day, I used what is it called? RPG Maker. Is it still a thing? That thing was so fun. I mean, you could use your own assets, but you could also use other people's assets. I tried to make my own Pokemon game. It was a whole lot of fun. RPG Maker and Game Maker's thriving these days. Godot 2 after Unity's fumble with their policy change. Oh yeah, that was pretty bad. I swear people running companies these days are bigger and bigger morons. We can't have nice things. There's always people that want to be greedy about everything. One of the bigger L's of 2023. Maximo used to be a game developer for moving to art. That's pretty awesome. I feel like this whole line has to move up just ever so slightly. Come on. Should I try to ink this? I feel like it's gonna look like shit. I could try. Just the eyes, though. I'm just not sure how to go about it. Something I really gotta study more. Over this anymore. I tried to make an indie game, pixel RPG vibe of games. Only made a super short demo and posted it. That's really cool. Art and drawing is much harder than programming. Well, technically with programming you can use a lot of people's code, right? So you can get away with a lot more, whereas you can't just take somebody's, well, I guess with AI now, not that I would recommend that because it sucks, but you couldn't really do that before. programming, you could always look up code, almost like a math problem, right? Like, how do I code this? And someone could tell you. With art, it's like, get good. It's the only solution. I have a tip for the eye inking, starving artist. Go ahead and give me the tip, because I want to do it, but I feel like it's just going to be a, like, if I come in here, it's just going to be a dark. I can't send the pictures because of the messaging protections on Instagram? Or on YouTube? On YouTube, I understand. Instagram, you should be able to send them. That would be weird. Maybe I really should make a Reddit page or something so people can post stuff. You can draw the whole shape of the eye first, then color fill it. Then with the iris, you can go thicker with the outline, if that makes sense. Yes, it does. The problem with... I mean, there's nothing wrong with using fill tools or anything, but I try to avoid that for inking specifically. Because I have seen people who just like go... This is not an inking brush, so let me... What would you even use? Marker? No. I guess I made a brush for inking. You can get some really interesting shapes and weight when you do it by hand, I guess. Hey, Swad. Hello today, a very easy head drawing. This was not easy. I've had to correct it multiple times. This has taken me way too long. Well, it's okay, but it has taken me a lot longer than usual to get this right. Just wanted... I feel like I almost need to watch a video. Because even if I use this... I can't make this, like, less... Maybe I can just do the eyelashes. We're gonna take a leap of faith. Oh, good God. Inking is something I'm definitely gonna have to practice a handful more, because it just looks stupid. Whatever. Tried. I'd probably have to ink the whole thing to make it look more even. Just gonna get rid of it. Perpetual Sketcher. Simple For me, it's easy. Yeah, for me, not so easy. I'll try to do Mega Man here. Maybe try zooming just a bit when inking. Oh, that's not a bad idea either. Personally feel the thinner the line art, it becomes much harder to control the brush strokes, kind of slows down the processes. Yeah, but if you look at like manga art, for instance, the lines are quite thin. Like they're thin, and then they'll add like a little bit of weight, you know, but they're mostly pretty thin. When you start getting thick lines, and you know, my sketchy lines are underneath. I'd have to actually do it properly. I was just trying to do the eye, but I think it will be too much of a pain in the butt. For another time. Yeah, and then zooming in is like, you start getting, it will take you longer because now you're, you know, not that you have to zoom in this far, but now you're doing every little piece, and so that when you zoom out, it's like a clean line, right? That's kind of what you're saying, and that can help. But you know, if you were on a piece of paper and a manga artist was like inking this, they wouldn't need to zoom in. Like I can zoom in to an extent, but I wouldn't want to do it so much that it's like this artificial zooming in, because it's going to teach me bad practices. Alright, Mega Man, let's go. It's very able to zoom in and out depending on the situation. Some covers are better using your whole arm, and some straight lines are easier if you zoom out and use your fingers. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I would equate zooming in and out to, like what I would use it for. To make like whatever you need to make the nicest, most fluid line, you know? Like you're not gonna want to make super like your tinier lines like this little cheekbone with your whole arm, because it's gonna be you're gonna have to stop like so fast, and it doesn't make any sense to zoom all the way in to be like because it still doesn't help you, right? So yeah, zooming in and out depending on what you need to do, and yeah, sometimes zooming out does help, because that way you can simplify a line and make it a lot easier. But again, I'm trying to draw bigger, so I am trying to train the arm muscles that I'm not used to, which is funky for me. It feels foreign because I haven't really been doing it. We'll get the hang of it. Part of his eye, so we're gonna have to guess. Or I guess you could just make this shape. I stopped struggling and doing line art from the moment I started keeping the sketch as clean and clear as possible, and with a ton of inking. I feel like I used to do that more. I do keep my sketches pretty clean. Unless I'm like doing some kind of exploration I don't know. Like back when I was doing more character design, like they'd get kind of messy because I wouldn't know what I wanted. So, you know, you're just trying to like get cool uh, stuff to happen, and you're just exploring a concept, right? When I do that, I'm okay with making things messier. But if I know what I'm looking for and I'm not trying to do like this serious ideation kind of stuff, then yeah, I try to keep it as clean as possible as well. A little bit. Means the nose is too high. Battle Network Mega Man? Yes, it is. Oh my gosh. I loved this game. I think I've replayed it a bunch of times. I actually wanted to replay it because they like slightly remastered it and re-released all the versions. God, these games were fun. I was so shocked that I loved these way more than like the classic Mega Man that everybody knows. These were more fun to me. Bit too much. I still remember playing that old Mega Man game as a child back in 2009, 2010. The simple days. Yeah. That's right. The simple days. It was a good game. Great artwork, really fun mechanics. Lots of collecting with the battle chips. If you never played this game, I would definitely suggest giving it a shot. Okay, so we've got. Oh, I screwed that up. I loved it, played it many times. So nice there. Really great designs too for all the bosses, like the main characters. I always really loved the Proto Man, the his rivals, the red guy with the sword. Always looked like a really cool. He was such a badass. I would love to do some kind of design work for that at some point. Okay, we got this, and then that. Possibly everything too big. Portions, man, they're so hard. Supposedly there are very few people that have this, but supposedly, according to my art teachers at least, when I was in school, there are a few people that nail proportions from the bat. They just have like instinctual proportions built into them or whatever. Talk about a cheat mode for getting yourself ahead at art. It takes a long time to become, well, not super long, but to be able to change up proportions and become super sensitive to them, it takes a while. I wasn't born with that gene. Neither was I. Oy. Just looks crazy, and that's because the proportions are super off. It's because of this damn triangle. It screwed me up. It should be smaller. I'm just gonna quit that one because I don't know this one either. That's a talent, all right. Yeah. I'm gonna go a little bit smaller with these because I'm finding them a little too challenging. This one's going a lot better. The proportions, I think, are just too huge for me. I need to get there a little bit more gradually. There's no shame in stopping and drawing, by the way, or changing the difficulty of what you're doing. So that you can actually do it without getting super pissed off. Because it's dangerously close to getting really annoyed. take some larger shapes of the hair here so that we can try to super stare and measure first. Yeah, that's actually really good advice. When I was in my figure drawing class, my teacher told us that a lot of people just like to jump right into the figure and be like, bam, 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 bam. And you're like, if you just take a half a second and look at the person. One of the biggest complaints, I always thought it was funny because I did it too, so I'm super guilty of it as well. But one of the biggest complaints where you know somebody is a beginner when they start figure drawing is, and it's super common, is that the model is moving. And it's such a stupid complaint, right? Like when you actually sit down and think about it, like it's a living human being. They're not a statue. They can't stop moving, they're breathing, your body is like slightly adjusting to keep a pose. Part of like looking at something, like we're lucky when we have photos, but like when you're drawing from life, like you have to take a snapshot of what you want and then redesign it in a sense. Hey, no barking, Keanu. Hey, you're all right. Come here. You want to come here? Yeah, sorry. He's there's a lot of commotion here today, so he's just talking to us. Yeah, he's a good doggo. He's basically like, so you guys are moving around, you want to go outside? You want to take me out? That's what he's saying. He's a funny boy. But he ate and got his walk before the stream, so he'll be good till we're done. Quacken, I find I often draw proportions wrong if I don't plan at all, not even the 5 seconds it takes to see what's happening. Yeah, it's a good point, and I think it's easy to forget. Like I forgot it, especially on the first one that I was doing. I thought I had the triangle right, but I should have seen it after I drew the second eye that they were too far apart, which means I screwed this proportion up here, here somehow. Sometimes you just like, I don't know what it is like fear of having to redraw all of this, because I knew like there was like, what is the warning symbol? Boop, like that. This crap was going off in my head like just a little bit when I drew the eye, and then I drew the mouth and it was getting too long, and I was like, oh, warning signs again. Like, you need to stop this. It was just too frustrating though. I gave up. Jack fell. I bet in the last John Wick movie, John Wick dies and is reborn as a dog named Keanu. That would be amazing. I would definitely message Keanu Reeves and be like, we have the dog that you need. Yeah, when we had to do those long what are they called? Bar drawings? Quacken. It's when they set up like a sculpture. Like I had to do this big sculpture of an eye or something. I'm trying to remember what it looked like. It was chunky eyeball or something like this. And this was stone. Or some kind of marble or plaster. It looked like a rock. But I had an eye on it. And then it was lit by a light. Boop, 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 boop. And then right next to it.
Yeah.
Right next to it, you would have your art hung up. The point was to do a one-to-one copy so that you could measure a lot more easily. And then, you know, you would go in and I don't think it was a perfect square, but you'd like go in and mark it out and then mark out where the eye was, right? And then start breaking down those shapes. But when you couldn't figure out, hey Akil, the way that we would measure is typically you want to take one thing that is going to be your constant, because if you change it, it's going to screw up your drawing. So you'd take like this chunk of the eye, right, and use that as your form of measurement. And that's how they got you to be sensitive to proportion. Are you guys leaving to the thing? Wait. I want to say bye. Hang on one sec. My wife is leaving. Oi. Hope you're doing well, Mr. Fahrenheit. So yeah, you would see, like, for, if I'm going to use this drawing as an example, like maybe I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how tall the eye is, right? So for the whole drawing, I need a place on this that I'm going to decide is my form of measurement. So maybe it's the length of the eye. This is like a rather straight line. So now I'm going to look at that line and be like, okay, am I drawing? Whoop. So this line, oh, it's partially in. It's there we go. So this line is this size. So it's roughly maybe a little bit extra in the same to be as tall as that line. And you use that for your measurement if you want to change like the size of it, right? Now this is in my drawing. I know that the height of the eye is going to be the same plus a little extra, right? And that's how you can change the size of things too. If I wanted to draw this really small, it'd be the same deal. It'd be like that. I know the height's going to be like that plus a little extra, so my eye can be that size. When you do that everywhere, you're like, okay, now I need to figure out how far the chin is from the bottom of the eyes, and you're measuring with this piece. So now you're like, okay, it's that, and maybe 1.5 pieces of that eye. That's how you measure the entire thing. Not that you guys need to know that, but I don't know. It was helpful at the time. And when I feel like the more beginner you are, that becomes very helpful. And that's quack, and that sort of filters into what you were saying about measuring and taking stock of your proportions and everything like that. A bit intensive. I mean, for those bar drawings, that's what they ask for. I drew this really complicated ass friggin' hand. It was, trying to remember what it looked like. they make you redraw anything that's off by like a couple millimeters. So it was like this hand gripping a rock or something. I don't freaking remember what it looked like. I know I have the drawing somewhere. Uh, let me see. It would be but I made the hand like a little too far over than necessary, like by less than half an inch. It was very small difference. Oh, here it is. Please make sure and show everybody this. Oop. This hand, you see that? It was super freaking detailed. The hand part, the actual hand, I drew just a like probably a quarter of an inch, maybe less, over a little bit too far. I had made the wrist a little too long. They made me erase the entire thing and redraw it. That was a hard day. But that's why those measurements were so important, and it trains your eye like crazy to be so sensitive to measurements. I don't draw super hard like that now. I don't like think that that's necessary unless you were doing fine art stuff that you just wanted to copy things like that. Yeah, it was a not fun day. They were very strict about that stuff. My favorite thing now, if I'm doing studies and I really want to get accuracy of stuff, is one of my favorite things is just your horizontals and your verticals. If you have trouble like measuring something or figuring out what angle something is, in your mind, just drop down a vertical line or a horizontal line and see where the line that you're looking at or the things that you're trying to line up, where they show up. So like if you're not sure, if you feel like you keep getting this line of the, I don't know, the cheek wrong or whatever, you would drop a line like this in your head, and then you know it's this far away, that kind of angle. Or if you want to know that the, like can't tell if the goggles line up with the eye, you would drop a vertical line up in your head. And now I can sort of tell here that they don't quite line up. It's a little farther over, but now I know for this drawing that the goggles are gonna show up here because they need to be at least this far away. That's kind of my frame of reference now, I would say, is using stuff like that, not being ultra specific, unless I have an incredibly serious issue where it's just I can't figure it out. And in some cases, like I'll take like a copy, or this was when I was younger, I would just copy this image, put it on here, and drop the opacity to see what I was screwing up so badly, just so I had the understanding. I did the 100 head challenge a couple months ago. It took 30 seconds for each head. Only put down the cross-country lines for each head. Cross-country is great for figuring out the angles. Yeah, no, that's a good approach. I wouldn't do the... Well, oh God. There were so many things with that statement. First of all, I wouldn't even do the 100 heads challenge because I feel like it's counterproductive to learning. There are so few people who can actually do that. Second, you took 30 seconds on each head. I can't imagine that you did very much. Did you feel like you got something out of that? Like it takes me 15 minutes minimum like to get a head that looks good. I imagine 30 seconds would be really hard. I'm just an amateur, don't know the way, just trying out different things. I mean, that's a good way to, you can just try a bunch of different stuff. Sorry, I don't mean to, I'm not trying to offend you or anything. I just, I hope nobody steers you down the wrong path or anything with that. Um, we lost our music. Hang on. Okay, good. Yeah, I mean the point of the 100 heads challenge is actually, not to get them as done as fast as possible, but to practice 100 heads as if it's gonna like sprint you forward, right? Um, the problem with that is it's a very like monotonous exercise. It can get boring very quickly. I mean, that might be gonna disappear off for a food break. Might be back for streamers. Okay, Quacken. Enjoy your food. Catch you next week if I don't see you back. Yeah, I mean technically the point of that 100 heads challenge is to take your time and to get better at heads, but yeah, most of the time people get bored. And a lot of people rush it because they don't want to do it. They want to get it done. Which again, there are uses for being able to draw quickly as well. But most of the time, people who try to take on that challenge are beginners, and I don't think that that's like a very conducive beginner exercise, which it sounds like you are. If you, I was planning on increasing the time each time I do it, but you're right, I got bored. Yeah, exactly. It's some like, what do I call this? I'm gonna move this head down because it's gonna interact with the one above. It's kind of like one of those catchy things that unfortunately, like art influencers are the main influence behind this. Like it's catchy, so people like want to do it. Like, oh, 100 heads, 100 head challenge, and it sounds really cool. Like you're gonna grind it out, like you're in an RPG or something. The hero of your story, you're gonna make 100 heads, and by the 100th one, you'll be the expert head maker. And that, first of all, it's not even close to true, and secondly, it gives people this false idealized goal when, like you just said, you got bored. Like most people will get bored because it's boring. There's nothing, you're just randomly drawing a bunch of heads, not necessarily knowing how to improve them or doing anything that really helps you. So really you just end up, unless you're a really good artist, you just end up drawing 100 terrible heads, and you leave yourself feeling more demoralized than heroic. Forest Night in the stream, it's like one of those $100. Exactly, $100 is the same way. It's like, why are you drawing $100? The $100 is more egregious, honestly, because there's absolutely nobody started drawing because they wanted to draw frickin' boxes, and it just there's just no point. There's no point on drawing 100 boxes. And you're making people, like, especially if these are art educators, you're making people think that that is necessary to be good at, like, perspective or something like that. You need to put those things into context. So you can draw the figure as boxes, or like anatomy of an animal as boxes, and put those in perspective. But just simple boxes in perspective, 100 of them, is just a pointless exercise. What is it? An exercise in futility. It's not going to help you improve. A few of them, sure. But like, perspective is not that complicated. We get the basics right away. It's when you put it into practice where it becomes difficult, and you need to do that. Oh god. I feel like I fucked up his hair. Yeah, that stuff just annoys me because it messes with the, not just the improvement of young artists, but also their motivation to continue. And when you started and you're seeing all these people who are way better than you, that's when you're like most vulnerable to all of the like mental health issues essentially that come with being an artist, which is all the self-doubt, the negative talk, like things like that. So seeing artists still push this like 100 heads challenge and all this stupid crap just irritates me. It doesn't help you. I did this video a long time ago about how bad tracing was for you, and so many people got triggered by it. Like, I really have to make like an actual video about it, because people will probably hunt me down for the way that I talk about it, but it's just not tracing. There are better ways to learn. People think like, oh, just because artists have done it forever doesn't mean it was a good way to do things. We haven't changed our education system in a long ass time, and people do not get good education. And there's a reason why. It's kind of gimmicky. I think it is productive if you get reviews and critique after doing the exercise, though, like in a school setting. No, starving artists, you're right about that. But I don't think you need to do 100. You could do the exercise with like 20 and then get a critique and be like, okay, thanks. and then move on to like using those boxes in real kind of more contextual settings, like as a figure or as something else, and using that feedback to complete that. uh I was about to comment on the hair. It's all right. I try to fix it best I can. I'm still learning hair here. If you didn't hear me in another stream, I said I kept my characters bald for the longest time. Um, we're we're still getting used to how to draw hair. It's funny how many things like in the art journey that I like just straight up avoided just so I could master other things. Uh, the things I would change if I could go back. Can't do it now, but um, come on, there we go. I won't say I got absolutely nothing. I did manage to learn some minor things, but I guess that's because I was already learning the Loomis head and stuff. Yeah, no. Um, Sorry, if I said you were not going to learn anything, that's I didn't mean to say that. You're going to learn some stuff from doing the 100 heads challenge or something, right? You're just it's going to be sort of this law of diminishing returns. Every after a certain amount of them, like I don't know, 20 of them or something, you're going to get less and less out of it because you're just regurgitating the same information. You need other ways to attack the problem that you're doing, like I said, in more contextual situations. So you will learn some stuff, but at a certain point, you're not getting much out of it and you're just doing it to do it. I draw bald people, that's my style, because bald people are very stylish. That's your style of art? Yeah, I should say that. My style is bald people. I don't draw hair, and it's a choice. My style is people who have no hands. There was this one of my girlfriend's friends. Hopefully, he doesn't watch this stream. Apparently, he tells people just so that he doesn't have to um, explain that he doesn't like a certain kind of food. He just tells people he's allergic. That's what that reminds me of. I'm allergic to drawing hands. I'm allergic to drawing hair. All my characters are bald. It's a choice. Ikaku, Saitama, Kratos. Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. Maybe I'll skip this one. Let's go with the shorter hair. Oh yeah, sure. Oh, that one was easier to draw at that size though. The law of diminishing returns, can it apply to everything? I suppose. More than likely, yes. Do you have a specific example there that you have in mind? It's gonna need to be taller. If you don't challenge yourself, I mean, there are studies about learning, and it specifically, they have learned that if learning is easy, you don't learn as well or as much. And when learning is challenging, you learn better, you learn more. But there's a sweet spot. If you make things too challenging, you'll get frustrated, you won't want to do it. If you make things too easy, you're not learning much. You have to find a sweet spot to it. I mean, basically when learning but do the same thing over and over. Yeah, I mean, that's why, I mean, I can use myself as an example. That's why, like, I've avoided a lot of anatomy and I've studied heads forever. And they don't go anywhere because I mean, they have improved over time, but like it's taken years and years and years, and it's just like I could have been much better had I just moved on to other things. When I learn I'm in pain. There's a balance. You don't want to be in pain, but you do want to challenge yourself and go beyond the expectations of what you think you can handle. I'll show you guys something interesting after this. Sometimes I go for hard, lol. I learned to do things easy. Same. That's what I'm doing now, studying head and skulls. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with studying head and skulls, so don't, I want to make sure I don't give you guys terrible advice. You do need to study it still. Jack, I stuck with heads because I wanted to, like, there's this kind of saying that they talked about when I was at school for in concept art. I would always hear people say that if you got the head nailed down, like that, it's the face is always a focal point. So if you got the head nailed down, you can forgive a lot of like the anatomy mistakes if the head was great, right? Because that's where you're going to focus all your attention. And for whatever reason, that got into my head, and I just the heads got into my head, and I wanted to like master the face and the head, and so I just drew the face like constantly. And again, not that that's a bad thing, but I needed to do more. I needed to not make all of my heads bald people. I needed to practice hair, eyes, noses, lips, ears, start learning the whole anatomy, and then take what I learned from there and come back to the head. I didn't do any of that. So that's why I got a little bit stuck. Drawing animals helps you understand human anatomy better, things like that. Constantly, wait, I missed something. If I don't feel pain, it gets boring. Constantly, well, I want to learn the anatomy of the rest of the body too. I'm procrastinating on them. Yeah, don't make my mistake and procrastinate too long, because you'll get stuck where you'll avoid it because you're afraid. And you can get really comfortable. Okay, I made regular people size proportions here. We need chibi faces. Chibi, tiny people. You gonna go feed your cat? Be back later. Okay. Give your cat a little pet for us. I'm just drawing boxes to learn perspective and then building up on it to get a head or torso. Yeah, see, that's great. Contextualizing your perspective practice is much better than simply drawing boxes. If you've never drawn boxes before, then sure, you can draw a few boxes. That's a good idea. But if you've drawn a ton of boxes, stop. It's not helping you learn anything extra. There's just no point. Like, I know how to draw a box in any perspective. I can draw a box. It is not difficult. I don't need to practice 100 of them to prove that I can do it in the most perfect way, you know. Anatomy sucks the life out of me. I realized the fact that I was trying to put on the details without knowing the structure, so I left it there for now. I think the problem with the more complex your subject becomes, like anatomy, is that it's hard to know how to study it. Like, you know the simplification, like if you're trying to draw the arm or whatever, like when you draw the gesture, it's like this. When you draw the form, it's like that. And you can get away with that. But then now, from here, it starts to get more complicated. You're like, how do I update these shapes so that they're not just like simple tubes? And that's when you have to start learning anatomy and how that works. And then you have to turn the arm so you know how it works when the arm is below you, above you, to the side of you. And it feels like so much stuff. And I'm not an expert by any means. That's part of what I'm doing now too. And then when you get to that level of complexity, it's like, it just gets very confusing. I think part of what helps is knowing that you have to know that you're more capable of doing things than you think you are. You know, we tend to build up some of this stuff in our head a little bit too much, and think we can't do it. And for me, definitely doing one really, like the bar drawing stuff that I told you guys about the sculptures and everything. Once I had done that once, when I believed I really couldn't do it, like it was impossible, that was the signal for me where it's like, I can do this even if I'm scared and I think I can't because I've done it before. It's like they say that thing when you go through really hard times or whatever, or like you're having a lot of anxiety or mental health issues or something. I sometimes like struggle with things like depression and things like that, so they usually tell you to tell yourself like, you've gotten through this before, you can do it again. And it's the same kind of idea with drawing. Like, you've done hard things in drawing before you didn't think that you'd be able to do, but you did them. I always try to remind myself of that, especially I think for me more painting than anything, because I struggle with that more than anything else. And painting, especially when you're a beginner, has a super ugly stage like where nothing is working. And you need to get over it really fast, because otherwise it's gonna be debilitating to your process. The biggest enemy to face is ourselves. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why, that is a big reason why I keep doing this YouTube channel and talking about the things that I talk about, because I feel like half of the battle, and honestly sometimes the more important half, because without it you can't do the physical part, is the mental part. The mental part is underestimated and much more significant than anybody likes to point out. You know, everybody's always trying to give drawing advice. People are always asking the same damn questions, like, how do you motivate yourself? How do you do this, that? And it's just like, you need better mental health. You need better tools to get past those mental blocks that are stopping you. That's it. I'll do the hair like that. I'm back. Hi, Jack. Welcome back. The initial struggle is what makes it hard. It doesn't get easy, but will get manageable for the most part. Yeah, I think especially just until you get all the basics working for you, like the moment that you become that professional, the beginner professional level where all the basics are finally clicking, that mental struggle, I mean, even past that point, it will still be there in different ways, but the majority of it definitely comes from that. But with the right tools, like, yeah, some of that stuff may not be any easier, but you have the tools to handle it. And you know you've done it before, so you can do it again. Yeah. I sincerely believe that if we focused more in our art community on the mental health side of things, that more people would become artists and not give up, because people only really give up because they are discouraged in some shape or form, either by themselves for being too hard on themselves, or by other people for being given terrible advice. Hey, RTW, we're on work. God bless. Thank you. Um, I guess having a community you can get feedback from is important instead of just bumbling around like I am. Exactly. It's okay to bumble around, but yeah, there really is nothing that replaces good feedback. I mean, there's bad feedback too, so you gotta be careful of that as well. But you can definitely learn from people of all skill levels. Um, a lot of times, what happens is people who get better and better kind of forget. Uh, I think they called it like the curse of knowledge. They forget what it's like to be a beginner, and so they'll explain things in a way that still doesn't work for beginners. So other beginners can relate a little bit better. Um, I hope that doesn't happen to me, but like I I imagine that it will, and I'll try my best to make sure I'm always explaining things in an understandable way. But yeah, there is nothing that replaces a good feedback session to your own work because it's literally immediate. I shouldn't say fixing. I mean, depending on how bad you are, or how much of a beginner you are, that may be the case. But it's immediate knowledge to how to upgrade where you were at to a place that will be better, essentially. And there's literally nothing that can replace that. You're always going to improve faster and more efficiently with good feedback. Again, you gotta have the right teacher and everything. I've had terrible teachers that have given me horrible feedback that have made me want to quit art altogether. And I've had amazing teachers that have improved my artwork like immediately. So what's especially important in learning anything is knowing where you are, and you know which way to go. I suppose that's true. Alright, I think we have time for one or two more. I like this guy, so I think I'm gonna draw him. We're just gonna get rid of Mega Man because I don't like even looking at it. Levi, bro, you are cool. My Lord Ram bless you. Okay. You guys can bless each other all you want. It's kind of difficult without... Oh, I see what you're saying, Jack. It is difficult without feedback. You know, I'm not going to lie to you about that. You're basically your own feedback, and some, you know, especially when you're looking at your own work, we can be very blind to our own flaws. But when you see other people's work, you can be like, oh, that freaking eye is... These eyes are way too far apart. What are you doing? Or the head is not big enough. She needs a bigger lump here, right? And I may not see it because I'm just invisible, or I'm blind to my own work. And yeah, feedback is important. Has to be warranted as well, so nobody, you're not pissing people off. But it still can be done. It's just slower, you know. That's what a lot of self-taught artists have done. Sometimes you can take a course or something if you want. I hope to eventually create some kind of course that can help people. Not that I think like my way is the best way or anything. Just I think I have good ideas. That's all. And maybe it might help some people. Especially the mental health components. Because I don't think anybody really does that. They're just like, here's a bunch of drawing assignments. Whereas, you know, there's so many more important things that you could be focusing on to help them make sure that they actually get to the drawing assignments. Um, it's just stuff that was never talked about at art school. Okay, we'll go with that. Did I lose my music again? That was really cool music. I'll have to play that again. Okay. Experts in their field have a tendency to not realize how esoteric their work really is, so even when trying to explain things to an average person, they fail to match their level. Sorry, I don't actually know what esoteric means. Esoteric, intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with the specialized knowledge or interests. Oh, okay. So you're agreeing with me from earlier. Yeah, when you get so far in your field, you don't realize that other people don't know all the knowledge that you have. To me, it's always been described as a curse of knowledge. um, you just you don't notice that people. How do I explain this? It's like when people have more money than you, right? Like rich people don't understand stuff, even if they were previously poor or broke, they don't have the same problems anymore. So they're explaining things about how to, like ways to make money, right? And they're like, just put 10K in this bank account and it has interest rates of this level, and you're just like, bro, I don't have 10K. I have $5 in my bank account. Like, what is wrong with you? Their problems are different from your problems, so they just don't understand it anymore. And it happens with learning any kind of skill. You get so good that you don't remember what it was like to be a beginner. As Akil said, hi Ave, again. Or excuse me, it was Akil Quacken. Quacken said, they're esoteric. Uh, their work. My brother's a sculptor who studied at art school. What I learned from him is learning from an art school isn't gonna work for me. That's okay, it's not for everybody. I honestly think they're pretty friggin' useless now, to be honest. They're just money-making machines at this point. And it's sad. There are teachers that still care there and stuff, but for the school itself is just trying to make money. Is there a reason you didn't like art school, Jack? Course on how to learn might be good. Thank you, Quacken. I'll get there eventually. Hopefully we can help the next generation of artists and anybody who, like in the video that I made about pursuing art, there's so many people who like gave up or left art out of their lives and stuff, and now like I had people messaging me who are in their 50s, 60s and stuff. That was so cool. I genuinely hope that a lot of these people get to a place where they can discover art again. You know, I explained a lot of stuff in that video, but like there's a lot of mental health challenges. That's why I want to make a book about it, so that people have a chance, or a much bigger chance than they did before, I would say. We're just gonna go with a normal ear. Too much. I feel like that's more correct. A lot. Saw that a lot at music school. It was crazy and hard work with others. The method of teaching is, shall we say, archaic, very constrained. Might be good for people with good discipline, but not for me. Archaic? Yeah, old-fashioned. That one I know. Yeah, I mean, I would argue a lot of learning in schools nowadays is very archaic. They didn't update it to actually be efficient and useful. They just went with these old rules. Like, even, I remember reading about, if you guys have heard about the different learning styles, like, what is it? Learning, visual learners, spatial learners, and auditory learners, or something like that. And we even started teaching this stuff in schools, like, only to actually, if you actually do the research, all of that is complete bullshit. Like, how are we supposed to educate students when we take something that is not, like, has no factual basis, and we're basing our entire programming for students around it? It's absurd. Like, if I knew even half of what I know now about learning, I would have been a much better student. In school, by far. Anismo, hello, poop. Antonella, hi, how's it going? Call cookie cutter? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, I mean, there is something to say about tailored education, because everybody is different. But they went about it in completely the wrong way. They they tried to escape cookie cutter by making more cookie cutter shapes. They're like, all right, we're not going to do everybody in this one shape. We're going to choose 3 shapes and shove everybody into those 3. So, not smart. A little high. No. Yeah, I only found out recently it had no research basis. Good grief. Can't talk. Yeah, it's I probably learned about it like a year ago at this point. I think it's popular now and like talking about it on everybody everybody and their mom has a podcast now, but people are talking about it a lot more lately. I've noticed. Mostly because the public education system is just like tanking. So I think it's just a popular subject. I asked for art advice from my brother. He crumpled a paper and asked me to copy it without explaining to me why or what I was looking for. Jesus. People like the most archaic. That is archaic. That mentality of like, I'm not gonna explain to you anything. That's like it's like a movie, right? Like what usually like the Karate Kid movies, like wash this windshield, wax on, wax off. I'm not gonna tell you anything about what this is gonna do for you. There's no reason to be secretive. It's just so stupid. It creates a lot of drama, but like, why? Hi Zephyr. Genshin and Star Wars character models intensifies with the same shapes thing. I'm not sure what you're saying. I should draw Genshin and Star Rail characters though. That would be a good idea. And then of course there's gonna be a new game. Zenless Zone Zero. So excited about that. Dropping by to say hi. Hi, Zephyr. Happy to have you here. Nice to talk to you again. All right. We finished 4 of these things. Should we give them all necks? This guy is gonna have a neck like that. The models use for Genshin all the same models, one for adults, teens, and kids. Oh, and then they just change the hair. That's pretty funny. That's pretty common though. If you've seen I mean it's the anime style, right? If you've seen oh my god, what's his name? Artgerm draw. Like especially when he does whenever I see him go to conventions, he'll do drawings for people, and they're literally it could be like a templated head, because it's all the same anime head. It's just like changing the hair and maybe the shape of the eyes, but they all almost always have the same face shape, right? The model is the same because all anime heads mostly have the same model, aside from like maybe some character differences, like you want a big face person or someone who has like a chiselly jaw or something, but mostly the like, what is it, the default is like a little cheek pops out, you see a little chin, and it pops back, right? That's about it. Oh, all right. Really true. Same face syndrome. Well, it's crazy that they actually get away with so much variety, even though it is the same structure, right? When you get more realistic, theoretically it's the same structure, but we do alter things slightly. So it is kind of the same, but definitely because it's anime, it's more simplified, so the actual structure doesn't change too much again. It's not quite the same face, but if you could draw like that anime templated face, you could draw a lot of different characters just by changing the hair and the eyes. That's it. People have done those like comparison memes before where they like show one character and then pop the hair off of them, put somebody else's hair on it. It looks mostly the same. All right, guys, that is all for today. I gotta back to editing my video. That's why I focus in the eyes, hair, and other features to make them unique. Smart. Yeah. Once you got that structure down, I mean, that is what you should focus on, so you can make different types of characters that way, and then you can go back to the structure and figure out how to manipulate that too. Because they do different type of structured characters. Oh, there was one thing I was going to show you guys. I forgot. I was talking about how sometimes, I don't know if Jack is still here. I was talking about previously how you have to have a balance when you're learning between things that are easy and things that are difficult. But sometimes you have to push past what you think is your limit, just to see what you can do. Oh, hi, Jack. Okay, good. So I took this character design class. This is probably, oh man, how many years ago is this? 2015? So 5. Oh my god, almost like 9 years ago, right? And my character design teacher asked us to draw, I'll just drop in a couple pages each of these. He asked us to draw characters, so I did sketches, right? And you guys are all gonna see, we're gonna start drawing clothes soon, so you guys are all gonna see these lovely, terrible sketches again. But I drew these. These were like some of the characters I came up with. He had us do mood boards and stuff, so we had a piece of reference for like fantasy characters. I made like 4 of these. They just looked like this. Just a ton of reference of stuff that we liked, right? And then after that, he told us to turn them into silhouettes, which I did. I chose the ones that I liked, and immediately you can see that the read on these got pretty cool looking. I may not have the ability to bring out all of the coolness, but for me these got really cool. And I had never done silhouettes before this, so it was just like, it was actually, you know, they weren't one-to-one copies exactly of what I had drawn here, because once I started making the silhouette, I could see that the shapes were off, or the balance was weird. So I had to alter the drawings to fit the silhouettes too. And again, remember that these are almost 10 years old. But then he asked us to break into the shapes with value, so you mask it out so that you're only drawing inside of that silhouette. and I did this. I would have liked, like, looking at it again now, I would have liked some more contrast, because there's not a lot of contrast here, but even now, these still look somewhat interesting to me. Again, I didn't have, and I still don't have the ability to like bring out the full effect of those silhouettes or the character design, because I don't know anything about clothing and all that stuff, but I did enough to make these feel interesting and unique. Right? And then it goes beyond this. My teacher asked us to take these characters and do a let me see which ones are actually the coolest. I don't want to show lame ones. Okay, so we'll do these three. He asked us to make what he called like level 1, level 2, and level 3 versions of your character. So this is already far beyond, like, all I thought I could do before this was these little sketches. I did not, in my wildest dreams, think that I could make it to these silhouettes, right? So you can see there's already a huge ass difference by just pushing beyond what I thought I even thought possible that I could do. Right, and there's some really cool, interesting designs here. I still don't really know too much about design, like I'm trying to play around with things. And then this is where I started to lose it a little bit, but he asked us to take the one that we liked and then push it into varying directions. I always really liked this, like, where did she start? So this design here was this first one. Let me use red. So this started here, and then I made it all the way to here, and then she's the top one here. So he asked us to push it further. And then the last piece of it was just choosing several of them to render out and finish, which I'm not going to bother showing that because they look terrible. Because I just didn't know how to render and everything. But you can see how huge the difference is going from like this stuff to this right here. And I didn't know I was capable of doing that. So sometimes you need to push beyond your comfort zone because you're more capable than you realize. And that is all I wanted you to know. So sometimes we're just a poor judge of how much we're capable of. And so as you're balancing, like you're figuring out what you want to study, specifically for you, Jack, because you were doing the 100 heads challenge, and you're trying to figure out what you need to study, and you feel like you need to do the 100 heads challenge because it's easier and you can do it. You may need to challenge yourself with something more, when you get frustrated to the point you want to stop there and then scale back the difficulty a little bit. But always try to find that balance, do that for a little bit, and then try to challenge yourself beyond what you think you're even capable of a couple times. It's something that I forget to do sometimes too. Like, don't be afraid to make the stuff that you make messy and gross looking. You have to try this stuff, and you're gonna make stuff gross and like bad looking, and then it will like come out the other side into good. I find that happens a lot with paintings and stuff. It just looks terrible the way that I'm laying down value and colors, but then all of a sudden it starts to coalesce and it looks really nice. To me, at least, I'm still learning. It's not like a masterpiece by any means. You're gonna try this now? Nice. Yeah, it was a fun technique. Sometimes I turn my characters into silhouette to see them. I mean, it's a good way to make sure, or to just even check if your characters are working. Strong silhouettes are really key to good character design. You should be able to read the character and be interested in it simply from the silhouette. If the silhouette's bad, you need to either, turn the pose so that you can see, the arm pop out or something like that. You might need to change the pose. It might not be a character design issue. Or if it's not the pose, then it might be a character design issue and it's not interesting. Doesn't mean that every character has to have like spikes shooting out of them. There are simple characters too. Shams, what's the 100 head challenge? We were just talking about it before. I wouldn't recommend it just because it gets boring and monotonous, and I don't think it's very productive to learning. But it's basically where you draw 100 heads. That's really the whole challenge of it. You can take as long as you want on each one, but you just have to draw 100 of them. In 10 days? Oh my god. I never knew that there was I don't know where was that from Drawbox or something? Yeah, exactly. Scale down to 20 heads. In an hour and a half. Jesus Christ. Oh god. Promise me you won't do that again, Jack. Unless it's something that you just enjoy. Like, really just love it. I mean, as a beginner, it took me like an hour to get a head right. Or longer. So that would be like 10 hours a day. Now I can do it in 15 minutes. So if I were to do a head for 15 minutes... What is that math? I'm not gonna do that math. I don't want to do it. I don't love it. Yeah, then promise me you're never gonna do it again, because that's terrible. Whoever told you to do that. Oh. $15 times 100 divided by what, 60? That would take me 25 hours if I was just nailing it every 15 minutes. Jesus. I like drawing heads until the hair comes up. Yeah, exactly. That's why I've drawn a lot of bald people. I'm in the challenge doing each one in 30 seconds. Yeah, head in 30 seconds is just not gonna teach you anything. Like, there's just too much to know. The only people who can do a head in 30 seconds are people where the head is they're doing it on instinct. That's what you're doing in 30 seconds. But if you don't have knowledge of how the head is structured, you haven't drawn it like 1,000 times already, you're gonna do terrible at drawing the head in 30. Did you say 30 seconds? 30 seconds, yeah. There's literally no point. You're not learning anything from that. You need to do longer studies to be better at the shorter ones, because the longer ones helps you put all that stuff into like long-term memory, so it becomes instinctual. Bye, Zephyr. I'll see you. What's the first thing to start learning? Shams, it all depends on what you wanna learn. If it's characters, I would learn some of the like just basic stuff if you're total beginner, like simple perspective using boxes and ellipses and stuff like that. But that stuff can get boring right away. So if you're looking to do characters, I would jump into figures using boxes and stuff, and just gesture. Simple, start simple, and then if you want to do environments and things like that, start using basic shapes to describe the stuff that you're seeing. Like if you see a tree, like describe it as a cone, things like that, so you can practice the perspective of the landscape and making sure you get your proportions right. If you break down the challenge into different steps of learning to draw ahead, it might work. You can't put much down much if you're looking at a picture than drawing it. I can do a convincing head in 10 seconds if it's only from imagination. I mean, uh, 100 block-ins with 3 values or 100 silhouettes. It's just the futility of doing that, Quacken, is just what bothers me, I guess. Is like, what are you doing that for if you're simply to stay? Like, you could actually, you're gonna get bored of that, right? Even if you made it into an interesting exercise, it still has no context or purpose other than to train you to do better stuff. And that gets boring because this is like some of the trap stuff that I fell into, is that you don't want to do it anymore because it's not interesting, and you're not drawing like any of the characters that you like or any of your own stories. I think the key is similar to what you said. Like, if you wanted to do that challenge, but make it apply to some actual project. Like, if you want to really do 100 heads and you find that fascinating, apply it to some kind of project. Like, do 20 heads from, how many times does 20 go into 100? 5? Yeah. 20 heads from 5 different anime, right? See if you can do different characters and stuff like that, different poses, or one anime, and every 20 heads you would switch to a different kind of story moment, and that might make it more interesting for you. And you learn more the more specific you get. When you make things like too broad, by just saying what the activity is going to be, like you said, the block-ins with 3 values or whatever, you can draw literally any head ever. You're going to be sitting there a lot of the time like, what do I do, what do I draw? And that becomes scary and frustrating too. Yeah, I don't know how convincing your head would be, Jack. I'm not trying to like put you down or anything, but drawing a head in 10 seconds, even from imagination, there's too many things on the head. Like, it's sure maybe convincing, like people would be like, that's a head, but what's the point? What are you trying to accomplish there? That is actually good advice. Making a comic. You should start making it instead of waiting to get good. Shems, I would alternate, depending on how beginner level you are, I would alternate between studies and actually making your comic. So start first day, try drawing out the comic that you're imagining in your head. And the stuff that you struggle with most, figure out how you can apply that into a study the next day. So if you're trying to draw, like, this is just really simple, but if you're trying to draw a figure in a chair watching TV for your comic, but you're struggling to get that figure down, now you're informed that you are struggling with anatomy or poses or something like that. So the next day, you can try to draw people who are sitting down in chairs. See, that gets really specific. It's something that you're interested in because it will help your comic. And then you try that part again. And you bring it to the best possible finish that you can. In 10 seconds, people would say that's a head, all right? Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, I have to jump off. Sorry. We got caught talking. It's so easy to just talk about this stuff. Art is just really fun. I'll be back on next week, Shams, if you want to ask more questions and be more specific. But that's what I would do. Get started with your comic and let it inform you about what you need to study. And then the next day, study that. And then the day after, go back to your comic and see if you can apply what you learned. But yeah, Jack was right about that. You should just start making it. I did the same thing. I tried to not do anything that I enjoyed and just study, and it pulled me farther and farther away from the things that I actually wanted to do. It's a bad trap. Don't let it happen to you. Even if it sucks, just do it. It's not like make sure it's still fun for you, but even if it's bad drawings, I mean, um, just go ahead. You're gonna have drawings that you enjoy too. Your eyes and your skill level kind of progress at the same time. They fluctuate, but they progress at the same time. So you're not gonna think your drawings are all terrible. You're gonna find things that you enjoy that you draw as you get better and better. Thank you for streaming. Love you. Thank you, Akil. I love you guys too. It's great. All right. Everybody have a good weekend. We'll be back next week, and I'll post the streaming schedule probably Monday. So have a good one. Everybody stay safe.